mind training in a positive sense means is that I'm going to teach myself, and I'm going to pick up some methodology, which Choose Again provides us with. I'm going to pick up some methodology that helps me to intercept thoughts that lead to results that I'm not looking forward to. And if I don't do that, if I don't train my mind to do that, my ego, which is the part that always runs the show, will just continue to run the show the way it has for 70 years. It's not going to change. It has no reason to change. It doesn't need to change because it is doing exactly what it wants to do. What I have to do is stop that and intercept it and say, okay, there is a thought of scarcity. There is a thought of there's not enough love. There is a thought of I'm not supported. There is a thought of I don't belong. If I train my mind, I can intercept that thought and immediately take it over to my loving self and say, help me look at this with me. What just happened here feels not very nice. It feels not loving. It feels like I was being undermined or sabotaged or whatever it is. What actually was happening? Is there another way of seeing it? And then particularly in our group work, where we use that method a lot, let's say somebody comes with a story from their past and they're convinced that the interpretation of the story means exactly what they think it means. Then we put it out to 12 or 14 or 15 people in the circle and say, is there another way of seeing it? And then we're going to get 10, 12, 14 other ways of seeing it. Some people will see it the way the original person sees it, but almost everybody will see it differently. And then the good news is that none of those are true. But if I can hear another way of seeing it that makes me feel a whole lot more joyful and peaceful, then why would I not choose that? Because all I'm doing is choosing an interpretation. Everything in life is neutral. Absolutely everything is a neutral event. My experience of it comes from my interpretation. So the mind training comes in teaching my mind to have a different interpretation. An interpretation that leads to a more joyful experience. A very simple example is a dear friend of mine. They're both counselors, and this was many years ago. And he came home. I was at their house, and we were supposed to have dinner with them. And he came home 3/4 an hour later than he said he would, and she became more and more agitated. And I said, "What's your interpretation of him being so late?" And she didn't even know what I meant by the question. She thought, well, he's late, it's rude, he should have called, blah, blah, blah. That was her reaction to the situation. So is there another way of seeing it? And of course there are many other ways of seeing it. Maybe he was delayed, maybe somebody wanted to talk to him a little longer. Maybe he wanted a little break and went for a walk on the beach. But none of it, whatever he did, whatever the reason for his being late was, had nothing to do with her. That's the key to this work, is to recognize whatever somebody does has no impact on me unless I'm choosing it. But I cannot go there unless I've trained my mind very thoroughly to do it that way. I have to train my mind to interpret these things differently, to reinterpret, to say there's another way. There is another way of seeing this. Is it true? Is my interpretation true? Well, obviously it's not. Because an only true interpretation, a true perception, leads to a joyful experience. So if I'm not joyful, I have made a wrong interpretation. And without a mind training and without consistent vigilance, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to reinterpret. I'm going to go with my first interpretation. That's the one I'm going to go with. And it never is a happy one. It never is a loving one. Unless I'm enlightened, in which case we don't need this discussion. But I'm not enlightened, so I need to train my mind.